reliably detonate nitroglycerin. In its finished form, it works something like this. Alfred took a container of nitroglycerin and inserted a wooden plug and packed it with gunpowder. Then, when the fuse was lit, the gunpowder inside would explode, blasting down into the container. It was that sudden impact that delivered the shock needed to detonate the nitroglycerin. It was just like the hammer striking the anvil.
But in reverse, huh?
We need a blasting cap for this.
All right, so now Jesse's gonna add a blasting cap, Alfred Nobel's first major invention.
No?
It just like my heart is just racing more than usual. I know that it's safe, but yeah, I didn't really expect to feel this nervous about it.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
God.
Stay down. Oh yeah.
Gotta stay down. Okay, gotta clear the range.
All clear!
Oh my God.
All right, Henry.
Yeah,
How do you like that?
jeez, man. Boom.
Is that what you came for?
Yeah, for sure. That was insane.
Look at how it carved out the exact imprint of the bottle, a foot and a half below. Okay, look, we even have puncture on the second to last hole. The smallest is not punctured. Yeah, wow. So, I mean, that's the entire range of our measurement capability. That's awesome.
His invention, the blasting cap, was refined to use an even more consistent explosive than gunpowder, mercury fulminate. It became the first reliable way to detonate nitroglycerin on command. The design was so effective it remained virtually unchanged for decades.
I think it'd be hard to argue that this advancement doesn't find its place into every other explosive device that comes
No
after.
trick of chemistry.
Probably the most significant development since the invention of gunpowder.
The same idea, using a small explosion to trigger a much larger one, would later be used in atomic bombs to set off nuclear chain reactions. With the invention of the blasting cap, the use of nitroglycerin finally became practical.
It can break rock and make tunnels much more effectively.
Nitroglycerin sped up industrial excavation dramatically. In one mine, the rate of tunneling almost doubled, from 0.76 to 1.34 meters per day. And in Mexico, crews reported that 15 men using nitroglycerin could do the work of 25 with gunpowder. So orders started pouring in from mining companies, engineers, and railway builders from around the world. To meet the sudden demand, Alfred began producing nitroglycerin in Sweden, enlisting the help of his younger brother, Emil. But on the 3rd of September 1864, an intern asked Emil for help moving a heavy crate. The two began to lift when suddenly the factory was ripped apart. A witness wrote this of the explosion. Most ghastly was the sight of the mutilated corpses strewn on the ground. Not only had their clothes been torn off, but on some, the head was missing and the flesh ripped off the bones. These formless masses of flesh and bone bore little or no resemblance to a human body. Emil, just 21 years old, and 4 others, the intern, a janitor, a young laborer, and a casting carpenter, all died in the explosion. Alfred blamed himself, and he swore, "I will never let this happen again. I will make nitroglycerin safe."
I don't believe you. That was like the day it's gonna.
The city of Stockholm declared nitroglycerin too dangerous and banned its production within city limits. Alfred, however, refused to give up.
So this is a moment where he's actually a pretty savvy entrepreneur. He says, okay, if I'm not going to do it on land, I'm going to do it on the water.
So he set up a laboratory on a floating barge on Lake Melleray. But as he was experimenting, another one of his factories in Germany...
Yo, what's up, Lucas? What's up, Jackson?
...was fighting a ticking clock. With every day that passed, more lives were lost.
Workers were terrified. No sane agent would use it, a mining publication reported. We confidently expect within 30 days to announce another serious accident.
Well, I mean, example.
See, he had addressed the problem of detonation, but not nitroglycerin's fundamental sensitivity. Because nitroglycerin is so viscous, tiny bubbles of air and water vapor easily get trapped inside. As we zoom in, you'll notice there are even more. These gases are...
So couldn't they're gonna vacuum so I push into a space where it has no air at all?
When a a shockwave reaches a bubble, it squeezes it, compressing the gas and heating it up. It happens so fast that the heat can't escape, and so the temperature inside can increase by thousands of degrees Celsius in an instant. It creates the hotspot. The gas molecules in these hotspots carry so much energy that they break the weak NO bonds in the nitroglycerin molecules nearby, and so these molecules then decompose, releasing even more hot gases. But nitroglycerin doesn't just have one of these bubbles. No, it's filled with them. So that's what makes it so sensitive to shock. A single impact can collapse many bubbles at once, which releases enough energy to trigger the chain reaction that detonates the entire liquid.
Moisture.
Now, you might think to make nitroglycerin safe, Alfred just has to get rid of those bubbles, right? Well, it's not that easy.
You have an air bubble tractor there. It's like really hard to get that out without like starting to bang on it, and then you don't want to do that because you don't want it to go up.
Well, this is it's air, not moisture. Bro, you see what you just typed? What do you mean air, not moisture? You know, that's not a thing. How much do you think there's moisture in the air right now? Bro, there's a humidity level. That's moisture, motherfucker. You see it?
Even if you could remove every single bubble, you would still have a problem. That's because nitroglycerin is a lot like the liquid in this beer bottle.
Yo,
I replaced it with water, and you can see
humidity level.
Smack.
95%. 95.
The impact drives the bottom of the beer bottle down faster than the liquid can fall, which creates this sudden pressure drop. And that drop vaporizes the liquid and creates bubbles. When the liquid rushes back in, those bubbles then collapse violently. Those implosions sometimes release enough energy to crack the glass. Now, a similar thing can happen in nitroglycerin. Strong impact can create new bubbles inside the liquid in a process called cavitation. And their collapse again triggers the same chain reaction.
So Alfred realized that the only way around the bubble problem was to change the state of nitroglycerin from a liquid to a solid.
Oh, C4!
Working on his barge in Germany, he tried
C4!
mixing in powder.
C4. That's what they do with this shit. It makes C4, no?
Charcoal, sand, wood shavings, brick dust, and cement. But nothing really worked. Dejected, he looked down and noticed something strange. A fine powder wisping around his feet. So he looked up and saw the same pale threads drifting over the banks of the Elbe. Millions of years earlier, that dust had actually been living organisms. Diatoms, single-celled algae that once floated in ancient seas. But now, in the dunes above the river, all that remained were their fossilized exoskeletons. That made for a fine silica powder that carried on the wind. This material, diatomaceous earth, or kieselguhr, had been appreciated by Darwin. He wrote, "Few objects are more beautiful than the minute siliceous cases of the diatomacea."
The fuck? Is that rare?
But Alfred saw beyond their beauty to the microscopic holes in their exoskeleton.
The
On
porous.
a granular level, it's got lots of little pores and places to absorb the liquid into.
We're looking for what kind of consistency?
Oh, it's going to be like
Yo,
a thick.
that's why we get the Diet Coke Mentos explosion. Because the Mentos are porous as fuck, and it's do that.
solid. It will make the nitroglycerin less sensitive, so the same hammer impact that you would try with straight nitroglycerin would take more force because that absorbent material will take some of that energy from the impact.
I feel like we're baking.
Right?
In fact, kieselguhr can soak up more than 3 times its weight in liquid nitroglycerin.
And so if it's porous, now if you mix it with the nitroglycerin
that's right.
can go into the pores. What that helps do is separate the nitroglycerin molecules from each other.
And within any individual pore, there just isn't enough nitroglycerin to propagate the detonation. So now when it's bumped or shaken, the mixture won't detonate. And if we drop it in the exact same way that set off the nitroglycerin,
Drop.
Here we go.
so this new material won't explode when you drop it. So can you still detonate it? Well, if you combine it with Alfred's other invention, the blasting cap, the resulting shockwave is powerful enough to compress many pockets of nitroglycerin at the same time, which
TNT.
triggers the detonation.
The biggest explosion we've seen up to now is 100 grams of nitroglycerin.
Yeah. That'll be the biggest one we've done so far. 3, 2, 1.
Not bad.
Oh, that's so sick.
Bigger.
To all whom it may concern, be it known that I, Alfred Nobel, have invented a new and useful composition of matter, to wit, an explosive powder.
Now it's gonna be
To name
20x the faster.
He took the Greek word dynamis, meaning power, and he made it dynamite.
Oh, I love that. Boom. So that's
Alfred
cool
was
shit.
determined to capitalize on his new invention, and he believed that he could make the most money in England. England is a jewel worth the rest of the world, he said. A dynamite company there would have the entire empire as its market. So in the spring of 1868, he set foot on British soil, carrying with him a suitcase overflowing with dynamite.
As he's going around and he's in
Chad, why did they sell to one company? Wouldn't it be better to just go around or sell to everybody? Go to one first. Say, yo, your competitor has this. You need to buy this. This cost. And then the other guy, yo, your competitor has it. Oh. And now you have the monopoly. You can scam everybody. You should
journalists to
scam
come to these
everybody.
demonstrations where he would bring sticks of dynamite in his backpack and a stand. So these
putting
huge
water.
boulders basically and put a stick of dynamite in there and like watch they get cleft into. Alfred was a clever salesman. So when Alfred created dynamite, nitroglycerin still had a terrible reputation. And so his initial thought was to name
What's up? It's fine. I'm good. Thank you. You should be here.
it Nobel's safety powder.
Oh, like that.
Come on down and get your Nobel safety powder. Blow the hell out of this rock. You know?
Whatever the
Send it
name,
down.
his invention came at the perfect time. Around when Alfred introduced dynamite, there were two other major breakthroughs.
There's a difference
The
between dynamite and
pneumatic drill
TNT.
and
I
the
wonder.
diamond drilling crown, which now made it easy to bore holes in solid rock, perfect for a stick of dynamite. These tools revolutionized construction. Many of the iconic engineering feats of the era, from the Brooklyn Bridge to the Panama Canal, depended on dynamite.
One thing that is really interesting to think about is Russia at the time isn't the Russia that we think of now. It was effectively a mid-sized European country because they had this vast wealth of resources, but it was cut off by the canal. And so without dynamite, you actually wouldn't have the Russia we have today because you would have never been able to make the
Yeah, but they already scammed them the first time though. Nobody, they went back and they sold them some of this shit. Fuck that, dude. They were making this shit way back in the days. They got scammed, and they were, oh no, we're not gonna sell you. What? Fuck. Nah, I'd be mad. I'd be mad.
It's worth saying that dynamite is different than TNT.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that actually. Trinitroglycerin. Trinitrotoluene.
Some rat behavior.
Trinitrotoluene.
Yep. Trinitrotoluene.
Those nitrogens are bound to carbons, not to oxygens. And so that makes it much more stable, so you don't have that really weak oxygen nitrogen bond. Because of that, it is much, much, much less sensitive than nitroglycerin.
So that actually wouldn't be discovered for another couple decades after dynamite.
The TNT labels on the dynamite sticks in the
Yeah,
Looney Tunes cartoons never bothered me when I watched as a kid, but now I'm just like, wait, that's not right. They're not TNT anymore.
But the main point is that dynamite happened first, and no matter what ACDC says, it is not TNT.
It's a good line.
Yeah, I mean, it's attractive. So dynamite was changing the world, but the old dangers of nitroglycerin were hard to escape. In 1869, near Brentford, England, a barge carrying dynamite exploded on the River Thames, killing 3 people and damaging buildings 800 meters away. Investigators traced the cause to dynamite that had been sweating beads of nitroglycerin. See, wet kieselguhr from the riverbed has to first be dried to remove moisture. And that leaves empty pores ready to absorb nitroglycerin. But the kieselguhr never loses that strong attraction to water. So if your dynamite is later exposed to moisture, even just humidity in the air, but water seeps back into those pores. And the invading water molecules then encounter nitroglycerin, which gets pushed outwards. Now, moisture wasn't the only culprit. Time and temperature could also cause this separation, but moisture just made the problem a lot worse, though it actually wasn't Alfred's only concern. See, kieselguhr is inert, and since dynamite was about 25% kieselguhr, that meant it would always absorb a large fraction of the explosive energy. And that power was wasted. It reduced the strength of Alfred's explosive, and ultimately it hurt his bottom line.
So he kept experimenting with new formulations and new absorbents. Again and again he failed, but he was undeterred, saying, "If I have 1,000 ideas and only one turns out to be good, I am satisfied."
And just ship it with fucking a coat
Then
around it.
one day,
that
while working
soaks
in his
moisture.
own lab in Paris, he cut his hand. It was a pretty deep cut and blood started to pour out. So he grabbed a bandage, pressed it to the wound, and watched it soak up the mess.
Oh, wax.
That night, the pain woke him. But as he was lying there in the dark, annoyed at his earlier carelessness, his mind drifted back to the bandage. How clean it was. How fast it absorbed the blood. He bolted upright and rushed down to the lab. He thought, if cotton is so good at absorbing blood, maybe it'll be just as good at absorbing nitroglycerin.
So inside that bandage is this, and it looks like regular cotton, but you'll see it's not when I light it up.
Yeah, but it has a maximum capacity though.
Yeah, I remember, watching this YouTube video where they just light it on fire and the whole thing is just gone. And it is so counterintuitive, so just crazy to see. It's like magic. I'm sure it's used in like magic shows too.
It's called gun cotton, or nitrocellulose. Nitrocellulose is made by taking cellulose polymers, say from cotton or wood pulp, and then replacing the OH groups with oxygen atoms bonded to nitro groups, which are the same unstable groups that made nitroglycerin so explosive. So now when you ignite it, these groups rapidly break down into products like nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and water. All of which are gases, so there's no particulate to scatter light. That's why the whole thing seems to just disappear into thin air. But what Alfred was interested in was what happened when he combined it with nitroglycerin. See, nitrocellulose has these chains that are very similar to nitroglycerin chemically because of the nitro groups. So because of that, they mix easily.
Now you have two things that are soluble. They like each other. This is very different from, Kieselguhr water and nitroglycerin.
Now, when you mix them, the smaller nitroglycerin molecules slip between these long nitrocellulose chains, trapping the nitroglycerin molecules and keeping them apart, just like in the diamond. If you mix in just a small amount of nitrocellulose, you get a stable, moldable gel that resists sweating.
Oh, because then
Take a little bit of
it'll soak in the moisture
cotton.
without causing the chain reaction.
Drop it in it. You see that it soaks right in.
Yeah.
Keep on adding bits until
It soaks all up and then just stir it around to make sure there's no dry spots.
But that's not all. This mixture also solves Alfred's problem with yield. The matrix, like the structure that it's being held in, is itself explosive. So now you get perfect yield, no sweating, bing bang boom. And because the material is a gel, it can be molded into different shapes, perfect for precise, controlled mining blasts.
While it's soft like this, we can put it into a shape, and then when it sets, it'll stay that shape.
we're gonna have to do a VE.
Oh yeah. Let's make a VE.
I can see 4 now, man.
Alfred named it gelignite, the world's first moldable explosive.
Boring.
With gelignite, dynamite, and the blasting cap in hand, Alfred had fulfilled his oath. He had made explosives safer for everyone.
He opened factories across the world, in Scotland, France, the United
more
States,
name,
and
man.
beyond. By the early 1870s, he was running more than 90 sites in 20 countries. But not everyone was happy. His father never recovered from Emil's death, and just weeks after the explosion in Stockholm, Emmanuel suffered a stroke. He survived, but was never the same. Emmanuel became obsessed with death, often rambling to Alfred about strange inventions, including a scheme to build a network of underground tubes that would carry corpses directly from people's homes to giant incinerators.
His dad never had the success that Alfred's having. He's being lauded as this great inventor. His dad, I think, was just jealous, essentially. But he claims that Alfred had stolen the idea for dynamite.
So he says to his dad, rather than regarding this idea as your own, far from it. You laughed at it. Your fatherly love seems to run aground on complacency or vanity. It should not seem strange that I, at the age of 30, will not allow myself to be treated as a schoolboy. It pains me, but when it comes to serious matters, I've adopted the rule of acting seriously. Despite the confident front he put up for his father, the truth was that his wealth hadn't made him any happier. He says, I'm 2 steps ahead of my competitors, but the accumulation of money and praise leaves me totally indifferent. My home is where I work, and I work everywhere. I am a nomadic athlete with no attachments, no roots, and no real joy in life.
This guy.
By 1876,
Maybe I was
he
just depressed
couldn't
then.
take it anymore. Overwhelmed by the loneliness, he placed an ad. Wealthy, highly educated elderly gentleman seeks lady of mature age, versed in languages, as secretary and supervisor of household. And into his life entered Bertha Kinsky. She was an idealistic woman, part of the budding peace movement. Together, they took long carriage rides where they discussed the role of
Bro, but I'm
science in
ad.
society and whether it could serve a purpose greater than war. For a moment, Alfred was happy. Hopeful, he asked if her heart was free. But while Alfred was away on business, she left to be with another man in Austria.
Oh
So
man.
Alfred was back to being alone.
Alfred was heartbroken. He responded by throwing himself even deeper into his work.
His
Alfred
work,
attempted
what
to
work?
sell his explosives to the French military, but they weren't interested. Then, a year later, when war broke out between France and
Make a
Prussia,
mega bomb.
German troops hurled dynamite at the French positions. Now, Alfred received a message. The French wanted to place an order.
One thing that I think is important to think about in this moment
Then he used
is
to
that
at a premium.
people have been stabbed, bruised, shot with gunpowder, and all sort of stuff. But up till then, it would have been totally foreign to see that level of destruction on a human body.
Chuck, it should be a hater's premium, right? Like if you were a hater in the early days, you can have the fruits of the labor, but it costs triple.
Matched in kind of human history.
As he starts thinking more about war and becoming involved with the French military, German military, the Italian military, they come
It's a
to him
terrifying
with
hate.
a problem that's been plaguing them for hundreds of years since the invention of gunpowder, which is that on a battlefield with black powder,
Classic
when you
French,
shoot,
classic
it
woman.
obscures
let's be honest.
visibility, so you
I'm
don't
just
know
kidding.
how to shoot again. Like you can't aim very well.
Yeah, one thing you're seeing with the black powder is that every time it explodes, there's just this huge plume of smoke that enemy fighters would be able to see your location.
So it's just this big problem where there's like a literal fog of war. Alfred starts contemplating that problem. What he thinks back to is gun cotton. You know, it doesn't create smoke. Can I use gun cotton to replace powder? But the problem with using gun cotton or any high explosive mass in small arms is that it detonates all at once, releasing its energy in a split second. And the pressure inside the barrel spikes faster than the bullet can accelerate. So much of the energy is
It'll
wasted.
damage the cannon then.
Instead of propelling the projectile, it can even destroy the barrel. What Alfred wanted was a propellant that built pressure gradually, so the force rose smoothly as the bullet traveled down the barrel. So he began experimenting with a new nitroglycerin nitrocellulose mixture.
Check. Then why did Hitler want to make this fucking super dog shit mega cannon then? You know the cannon? If they knew that this shit it could not do that.
By
So
adding
they need to
10
have a lot of
times more
it's worth to
nitrocellulose
make
than
the
gelatinite,
fucking bullet throw out.
transformed it from a jelly into a tougher substance, one that could be rolled into
Some
pasta
ego
mix.
indie shit for real.
In Italy, they even used pasta makers to do it. These sheets were then stamped into countless tiny little grains. When these grains were packed into a cartridge, they wouldn't fit tightly. Small gaps in air remained between them. But that was actually a good thing. Now, when one grain ignited, a shockwave couldn't just race through the entire charge at once. Instead, each grain had to ignite its neighbor, and the one beside it, and the next one in sequence. This slowed down the burn rate and allowed the pressure to build gradually. So they were able to replicate the effect of gunpowder.
Also
And
left to
because
right
the
then.
fuel was a combination of
Nope.
nitroglycerin and nitrocellulose, both of which broke down into clear stable gases and burned with little smoke. So Alfred had solved a problem that had plagued armies for centuries.
And to this day, the propellant in much of the world's ammunition is still a combination of nitroglycerin and nitrocellulose, just like Alfred's invention. He called it ballistite, the world's first smokeless, high-energy propellant.
Alfred quickly received an order for 3
Now what about the more of that thing at the back, right? But inside the actual bullet. So once it lands and hits and it compacts under the target, it fucking blows up again.
100,000 kilograms of ballistite from the Italian army. So he opened a massive armaments factory in Italy and began to fall deeper into the world of warfare.
Oh, they already
He
have that.
developed landmines, early gun silencers, and even experimented with one of the first rocket-powered missiles. It flew over 4 kilometers downrange and allegedly captured this image.
The whole time he's in contact with Bertha, like the woman who kind of jilted him, and she's become pretty important in the peace movement at the time. She wrote this book called Lay Down Your Arms that became kind of a sensation and established these peace congresses across the world.
To her, he insisted, "My rockets are meant not only for war, but also for the rescue of shipwrecked persons." He even took it a step further. "Perhaps my factories will put an end to war sooner than your congresses. On the day that 2 army corps can mutually annihilate each other in a second, all civilized nations will surely
Hey,
recoil with horror."
yo, this was ahead of his time again. You can say cap, but this is the basis of what we're at right now. This is really this actually is where we're at, where we're headed.
And disband their troops.
Mutually assured
This is
destruction.
a concept that we see a lot of. When people are sure to kill each other with the modern weapons that I've given them, no war will be possible. It's also the same thing that we think about in Oppenheimer. I feel like we've heard it so many times that you just can't believe it ever.
No.
And then it's just marketing on the part of all these guys who are selling weapons. They don't want to come across as evil guys who are like, I'm going to make something that'll help you kill more people than ever before. I mean, that's kind of the truth of it. Especially in the dynamite case. It feels like a tremendous misjudgment of human nature. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, but dude, it's like science, like invention and shit. It's like somebody's gonna do it.
Yeah. This is not going to be used for
Is this a stop
war.
it?
And
Doing
we
research
definitely
in
don't
that?
see
And
that
just let's-
in the
let somebody else do
decades
it?
that follow. Between the 1890s and the 1920s, over 7,000 bombings occurred in New York alone. Imagine waking up, opening the paper, and seeing another explosion every other day for decades. The most common perpetrators were known as the Dynamite Club. They were part of a deadly new political movement on the rise in America. They rejected industrialization and longed for a simpler world. Today, their name evokes chaos and destruction. But at the time, it was more literal. No ruler. Anarcho. This was anarchy.
Whoa,
They were so crazy and so effective using dynamite that Theodore Roosevelt addressed Congress. He said the largest threat facing the U.S. is the anarchist threat.
Were they intentionally just killing people?
Yeah. Their argument was that, if one person dies at the hands of an anarchist, 100
Interesting.
people have died in the industrial machine.
Right, he's saying that the problem was the people, not the thing. Right? And that
Yeah, people sound
I
crazy.
agree with
In fact,
that
the
philosophy.
entire modern practice of terrorism, using spectacular violence to advance a political agenda,
As he could have
often
said,
targeting civilians,
the problem
that all
is the
began
dynamite.
with the anarchists and their dynamite.
Dynamite unlocked a new scale of destruction previously unimaginable. With only a few sticks in a coat pocket, one person could walk into a crowded street and wreak havoc.
What began as an industrial tool had become a weapon of mass murder.
In 1927, in Bath, Michigan, a man spent months wiring the town's new elementary school with dynamite.
Whoa!
He hid the charges in the basement and crawl spaces, concealed them under floors and behind walls, all while serving as the school board treasurer. Then, on the morning of May 18th, just after classes began, he triggered the explosives.
But why?
As parents and rescuers rushed to the scene, he arrived in a truck packed with more dynamite and shrapnel and death.
In all, 38 children, 6 adults, and the attacker died. Another 58 were grievously injured.
The deadliest school massacre in American history was not a shooting. It was a dynamite attack. Of course, Alfred couldn't know all the ways in which his inventions would be abused, but he had seen the destruction in his own life, and he had heard the pleas to change his ways. So in 1888, when he read that paper, something in him broke.
Too late
A
though.
few years later, as his health began to fail, as he took pellets of nitroglycerin to ease the pain in his chest, he couldn't shake the thought. So he called his lawyer and wrote a new will.
With 94% of his personal fortune, 31.2 million Swedish kroner, or about $340 million today, he created a set of prizes. For those who, during the preceding year, shall have conferred the greatest benefit on mankind, the Nobel Prize. There were 5 in total for chemistry, physics, medicine, literature, and finally, peace.
On December 10th, 1896, Alfred Nobel died in his villa in Italy. Just as he had always feared, he died alone. At the time of his death, he held 355 patents and ran an empire of 90 factories that produced explosives and armaments across the world. And yet, in his final act, he gave his fortune away for an idea.
I mean, who else would he give it to?
So
But still
did
good
it work? Did it redeem him in the
If
eyes
there was nobody, it
of
would have been to
everyone
Texas, right?
today?
Have you ever heard the name Alfred Nobel?
Oh yeah, he was the creator of the Nobel Peace Prize.
Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prizes?
Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prizes.
Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize.
Anything else?
Yo, how do you win a Nobel Prize of
I
peace,
should
though?
know more.
The Nobel Prize.
Is that it?
Yes.
Isn't it like nothing like dynamite? Don't think about that at all?
Dynamite.
Yeah. He also invented dynamite.
Did not know that.
I didn't know about the dynamite.
Obama?
I didn't know about the Peace Prize, but that's it.
I think the attempt has been to have him portrayed as somebody who tried to promote new understanding and advances in science. And so
That's his legacy.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would seem.
I mean, if you're cynical, you say it's a PR move. And are you inclined to be cynical? I think it must be at least somewhat a PR move. To me, like, Nobel Prize has always been like the pinnacle of achievement. If anyone wins the Nobel Prize, like, yeah, you're done. That's all you need to accomplish in life. I mean, in some ways, like, maybe he was in control of his legacy. Yeah.
And he took control of his legacy.
He did.
Decided he wanted it to be a positive thing. There's a twisted irony to this story. When Alfred Nobel created dynamite, he was trying to make explosives safer to prevent the kind of accident that killed his brother. But by making nitroglycerin easier to handle, he also made it more accessible. And that made it more deadly. So why then did he create the Nobel Prizes? Was it out of the goodness of his heart? Or a desire to redeem himself in the eyes of everyone who would come after him? I mean, I think the idea that anyone anywhere can be recognized for advancing science, literature, or peace is beautiful.
This award is not just a piece of metal that you wear or an award that you keep in your room, but this is really an encouragement for me to go forward and to believe in myself, to know that there are people who are supporting me in this campaign.
So maybe it doesn't matter why he did it, only that he did it.
True. 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 Who wins the Nobel Prize Peace winners? This guy. What did this guy do? The origami? No. Japan? Interesting. The movement soldier interesting. Group that represents survivors of the atomic bomb. Okay. Let's say her. How did she win all that? How did you win the prize? I just want to know how you win the prize. Is it full list right here? Defenders of human rights. He's the Vice President of Defenders of Human Rights, headed by Nobel Prize winner, laureate. Interesting. She did 6 years in prison for establishing and running a legal splinter group. I'm reading this stuff, chat. I don't know what to do. Oh, they're all right here. So then it's easy then. This guy did The Peace Prize represents civil society in their home countries. For many years promoted rights of citizens' power and protect fundamental rights of citizens. Very nice. Efforts to safeguard freedom and expression. Free 2023. Against oppression of women in Iran. Oh, very nice. This guy, of his efforts to achieve peace and international cooperation. Combat hunger. 2025, chat. Mr. Beast and I don't want to stop nominating that. Giving water, man. Right? Right, chat? That stream was lit. We raised a bunch of money for water. I mean,
Okay, that was a cool video. Let's play Sonic Frontiers now. I know that was a long intro. Don't worry, we're here. We're Sonic Frontiers. Oh, well, it kept the winded borderless setting this time. Wonder why I did that this time and not every other time. Okay, it's fine, Knuckles. Yep, I've completed this. For Big the Cat. What is this place? Huh. Oh. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. How do I get over there? I could attempt to fast travel. Depending on where I need to go. I'm going this direction, which is over here, which means I can fast travel this. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Feel the temperature difference.
Wait, why? Why did it just randomly say that? Why does it not let me look at this on my computer? It's fine. I'll just do it on my computer. The spear stones lying on the ground nearby are indentation of various hues. Screen overhead looks. I can move those spear stones. What did it say? The Sphere's running around nearby. It looks like various Spheres. The crane overhead looks like it can move Sphere stones. Oh. I don't notice that. I'll get up there though. Wait, I think this is the same thing I just did. It has to show that every time. How do I get up to the crane? I don't get it. Oh. Oh. Innovative gameplay.
it? Nice work. Was there ever any doubt? Ready to go face impossible odds? Huh, we've faced worse. Here we go. Try to keep up. Whoa, hey, that's my line.
Go through cave. I want to save just because if there's a boss fight, then I think I'm gonna save it for another stream. I wasn't gonna be on too long today. I know I wasted most of my stream with the video I was watching, but it was actually really interesting. Wyvern. I'm not ready to speak Wyvern terms to do something taking a Wyvern and get the higher ground and reach it using homing attack. Okay, yeah, I'm going to, can I save here? Okay, alright, then I'll call it here before the boss fight. I meant to play more, so yeah, my bad on that one, but it's okay. I'll finish this up. I have to move and stuff. Once I move, I think I'll definitely be able to stream more. But for today, peace out. Goodbye.